Imagine waking up not to the gentle hum of a modern heating system, but to the rhythmic breathing of a cow just feet from your bed. Step back in time with us to Liverpool 1620, a raw and unforgiving world where everyday survival was a constant, visceral struggle. It's a cold, dark morning in a modest Liverpool dwelling, the kind we might now call a cottage, though it was far more rudimentary. The air is thick with the scent of damp earth, wood smoke, and something else. A persistent, earthy aroma that tells you livestock are near. And indeed they are. Beyond a flimsy, makeshift partition of rough-hewn timber and woven reeds, a cow, or perhaps a goat, stirs. Its warm breath mingles with your own, a surprising, almost comforting presence in the frigid pre-dawn hours. This isn't an anomaly, some quaint rural eccentricity. This is life. For families in early 17th century Liverpool, sharing their cramped living quarters with farm animals was not a choice born of sentimentality, but a stark, practical necessity. It was a strategy for survival, a common practice that speaks volumes about the harsh realities of the early modern age. Liverpool in 1620 was a far cry from the bustling global port city we know today. It was a modest coastal community clinging to the edge of the Irish Sea. Picture a small cluster of buildings, perhaps 1,000 souls at most, nestled around a natural harbour. There were a few main streets, muddy and uneven, lined with simple timber-framed houses, their thatched roofs a patchwork against the often grey skies. Maritime trade was limited, a nascent flicker compared to the roaring inferno it would become centuries later. The town's economy was fragile, primarily dependent on fishing, small-scale farming in the surrounding fields, and a smattering of local commerce. Life here was a delicate balance, constantly teetering on the brink. The unpredictable climate, the success or failure of a harvest, the bounty of the sea. These weren't abstract concepts, but direct determinants of who would eat and who would go hungry. The necessity of cohabitation, of sleeping alongside animals, stemmed from this very vulnerability. In the biting cold of winter, a cow or a goat inside the home served as a living, breathing radiator, its body heat invaluable in keeping the family from freezing. Beyond warmth, these animals offered a form of security, a deterrent against theft in a time when personal possessions were few and precious. Yet, this shared existence came with its own set of unintended consequences. The constant presence of animals meant fleas and parasites were an inescapable reality. The pervasive odors, while normalized, were ever present. And perhaps, most significantly, the close proximity to livestock significantly increased the risk of disease, though the connection between animal proximity and human illness was largely unknown at the time. Despite these drawbacks, this arrangement was often the only viable option. Comfort was a luxury few could afford, and survival trumped all other considerations. It was a world where the lines between human and animal existence were blurred, not out of choice, but out of the sheer, unyielding demands of staying alive. This intimate connection with the natural world, however uncomfortable, was woven into the very fabric of daily life. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. This intimate connection with the natural world, however uncomfortable, was woven into the very fabric of daily life. The challenges of sustenance were perhaps even more immediate and insidious. Consider the water, the very essence of life, yet in 1620 Liverpool, a constant peril. There was no plumbing, no municipal water system to deliver clean, potable water to homes. Instead, families relied on shallow wells dug into the earth, rain collected in barrels, or water drawn directly from streams and the river. These sources, however, were far from pristine. The same wells that provided drinking water might also serve as communal washing points. Rain barrels, while collecting from relatively cleaner skies, often sat open, gathering dust, leaves, and whatever else the wind carried. Streams, meandering through the small town and surrounding fields, were shared by humans and animals alike, becoming conduits for waste, both human and animal. Imagine drawing water from a well, knowing that just yards away, livestock might be grazing, their waste seeping into the very ground that fed your water source. Or picture a stream used for laundry, for bathing, and then, further downstream, for drinking. Contamination was not an exception. It was the norm. The result was a constant, unseen war waged within the body. Intestinal illnesses, often debilitating and sometimes fatal, were rampant. Dysentery, cholera, typhoid. These invisible enemies stalked every household, their origins a complete mystery to the people of the time. They knew only that sickness often followed drinking certain water, but the scientific connection between microorganisms and disease was centuries away from being understood. Every sip of water was a leap of faith, a silent prayer that this particular draught wouldn't bring days of agonizing illness. The visible evidence of impurities, a cloudy appearance, an earthy taste, was often dismissed as natural, a part of the water's character, rather than a warning sign. Survival meant trusting, despite all visual and olfactory cues, that the water wouldn't betray you. Beyond water, the daily diet was a stark reflection of scarcity and seasonality. The average Liverpudlian in 1620 ate what was available, not what was desired. Dark, coarse bread, often made from oats or barley, was a staple, providing essential calories and bulk. Fish, when the sea was generous and the boats returned safely, offered a vital source of protein. Grains, grown in the nearby fields, formed the backbone of most meals, often prepared as porridges or stews. Variety was a luxury. There were no imported fruits or vegetables from distant lands, no refrigerated meats. The diet was dictated entirely by local resources and the relentless rhythm of the seasons. Fresh produce was only available for a short window, and preservation methods were rudimentary, relying on salting, drying, or pickling. A bad harvest, a prolonged storm keeping fishing boats in port, a sudden blight on the crops. Any of these could plunge a family into immediate hunger. There was no global supply chain to cushion the blow. Starvation was a very real, very present threat. Survival meant improvisation, adapting to whatever meager provisions could be found or traded. Wild edibles, foraging for berries or roots would have been a common practice for many, a desperate measure to stave off the gnawing emptiness. Nutrition, as we understand it today, was an unknown concept. Sustenance was the sole objective. And then there was the shelter itself, the fragile homes that stood against the relentless coastal winds and dampness. These houses, predominantly timber-framed with wattle and daub walls and thatched roofs, were not built with modern notions of insulation or structural integrity. They were functional, designed to keep out the worst of the elements, but far from airtight. Gaps in the walls were common, allowing drafts to whistle through, carrying away precious heat. Smoke from the central hearth, the primary source of warmth and cooking, often lingered, creating a perpetually hazy, soot-laden atmosphere. The air inside a 1620 home was a constant mix of wood smoke, damp earth, animal odors, and the general smell of unwashed bodies. The harsh winters, with their biting winds sweeping in from the Irish Sea, tested these structures to their limits. Rain and sea spray would penetrate, contributing to a pervasive dampness that seeped into everything. Despite these imperfections, the home, however rudimentary, offered vital protection. It was a haven, albeit a leaky and drafty one, from the unforgiving outside world. It represented security, a place to gather around the fire, to sleep, and to attempt, however briefly, to escape the constant struggle for survival that defined life in early modern Liverpool. In this world of constant struggle, one thing was conspicuously absent: a safety net. There were no formal social safety nets in 1620 Liverpool. No insurance policies to protect against illness or disaster. No government-funded public assistance programs to tide a family over during hard times. When sickness struck, when crops failed, or when a storm destroyed a fishing vessel, a family could be ruined in an instant. The consequences were immediate and catastrophic. There was no welfare system, no unemployment benefits, no healthcare infrastructure beyond rudimentary, often ineffective local remedies. A broken leg could mean the end of a man's livelihood. A persistent cough could condemn an entire family to destitution. Survival, therefore, relied almost entirely on community dependency. Neighbors helped neighbors, sharing meager resources, offering a spare bed, or assisting with a harvest. This wasn't charity as we understand it today. It was a pragmatic necessity. To isolate oneself was to court disaster. The interconnectedness of the community was not merely a social nicety. It was the very bedrock of existence. A family's ability to weather a crisis often depended on the strength of their relationships within the village, the willingness of others to offer support, knowing full well that their turn might come next. This delicate web of mutual aid was the only form of protection available, a testament to the resilience and interdependence of early modern life. The people of Liverpool in 1620, navigating this precarious existence, could not possibly have imagined the future that lay ahead for their small, struggling town. To them, the daily grind of finding food, securing clean water, and keeping warm was the entirety of their world. Their focus was intensely on the immediate, on the basic requirements of survival. The idea that this modest coastal community would one day transform into one of the world's most pivotal port cities, a hub of global trade and innovation, would have been utterly inconceivable. The towering docks, the grand warehouses, the bustling transatlantic voyages, these were all centuries away, beyond the wildest dreams of a population whose horizons rarely extended beyond the next harvest or the next fishing season. This historical irony underscores a profound truth: the vast chasm between their reality and our modern perception of Liverpool. We see a city steeped in history, a place of cultural significance and economic power. They saw a challenging landscape, a constant battle against the elements and scarcity. The stark difference between then and now is a powerful reminder of how far humanity has come, not just in technological advancement, but in the fundamental aspects of daily living. So when we reflect on Liverpool in 1620, the overarching theme is the normalcy of hardship. Sharing living quarters with animals, breathing air thick with smoke and animal odors, and consuming water that was visibly, and often dangerously, impure. These were not extreme situations. They were the commonplace realities for the vast majority of the population. This was not a life of intentional deprivation, but one dictated by the harsh constraints of the era. It was a world where survival was a daily achievement, not a given. History, therefore, is not solely shaped by grand narratives of kings and wars, but by these mundane, often brutal routines of survival. It is in these intimate details, the shared breath of human and beast, the taste of tainted water, the constant chill of an inadequate home, that we truly grasp the immense distance between early modern life and our contemporary comfort. Our lives, cushioned by sanitation, abundant food, and advanced medicine, are a world apart from the daily struggle of our ancestors. Understanding their reality offers a profound appreciation for the progress we often take for granted. If this glimpse into the hidden routines of early modern survival has sparked your curiosity, and you wish to explore more such forgotten facets of history, consider subscribing to our channel. Join us as we continue to unearth the fascinating, often challenging realities that shaped the past and, in doing so, shaped us.